We haven't spoken to you about this particular deal. Break it down for us a little bit. What is Antonio Brown going to have to do for himself and for the organization for this to be considered a success in Oakland?
He's going to have to get them to the playoffs in one of the toughest divisions in football, and it's going to be hard to do. I think this is more of a 2-year rebuild. You look at how they retooled and they brought in the left tackle. They went out and got a slot receiver in Ty Williams, which was a good pickup. But I don't know if going forward, Derek Carr is going to be on this roster next year because they have the 2 picks next year.
By next year, you mean 2020?
2020, and his contract isn't guaranteed. This is the last year of his guarantee. So I think that this is a 2-year plan, and they want Antonio Brown here this year, but I don't know if next year. I don't think this is the best destination for him. I think it's a good destination for him, but I think still going to Green Bay would have put him in the mix for a Super Bowl this year in the near future. If he doesn't get these guys to the playoffs, it's going to be a failure, and I think it's going to be hard to do because you see what Kansas City is doing, you see what the Cleveland Browns are doing, you see what the Baltimore Ravens are doing, you see what my New York Football Jets are doing.
A little mistake there.
Wow.
That Beckham thing just all in my head.
But listen,
what are they smoking?
It is all about 2020, though. Right? Like, the Raiders don't have to be in the playoffs next year for this to be, and people are like, they shouldn't have got Antonio Brown. They got to take a step forward. The offense has to show a pulse. This year, they are either going to draft, I believe, they're either going to draft one of these 2 quarterbacks, or they are just going to, if they can't get one of those 2 quarterbacks, it is a final trial year for Derek Carr. I think they're fine with moving on from Carr this season if they're able to get one of those quarterbacks, if they like one of those quarterbacks. But I think everything the Raiders have done has been building towards the first year in Vegas. The Khalil Mack trade, building towards the first year in Vegas. Getting Antonio Brown and recognizing you have him under a multi-year contract. Being non-committal on the quarterback. All of that, to me, is building towards Las Vegas with this interim season in Oakland. Now, they can't have another disaster year where through 11 weeks of the worst team in football like they were last year, but I don't think they have to be great this season. They just have to show progression to where the Vegas fans are excited for the team that's coming into town. I
feel like we keep dancing around whether Derek Carr is going to be with this organization or not. If he is, if he isn't, is he the guy, is he not? What is the deal with Derek Carr? Do you see this organization moving forward with him as their quarterback?
Well, I'm like Bart. I just keep my options open. I don't have to commit to him long term. I do have a wide receiver. We saw last year he did have a tight end. Their tight end was very good in Gruden's system. And I'm just believing, because I know Antonio. Antonio is a gym rat. Gruden sat down with him the last couple of days, and they looked at every play that he had with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Looked at over 400 pass plays. Every position he was in the offense. That's why Gruden came in, said he can play the split end, the X receiver in the boundary. He can play to the flank receiver. He can play in the backfield. Gruden is going to have to show. So for me, I'm with Bart to a certain degree. It's a tryout for 2 years. But I believe that they're going to show enough offensively that you could get fooled potentially who Derek Carr is because of Antonio. Man, Antonio's getting ready to put up numbers. He's going to put up 100 yards. He does not get hurt. He's very, very durable. He's a very smart football player, and he gets a lot of yards after the catch. So you don't have to flight the ball down the field 40 yards to be able to get productivity. So I think that he is, man, a dream come true for Carr. But, man, Carr is going to have to be successful with him. But if I'm Oakland with all those, I got 3 number ones this year, 2 next year. Man, I'm going to take me a quarterback.
And because how do you load up, right? The new motto is young quarterback. Go out
like
and get toys.
They're like draft capital.
So they're perfect. You think about Fromm coming out, Herbert coming out, and Tua coming out in the next draft where they're going to have 2 first-round draft picks as well. How about taking that to Vegas? And I disagree with you to a certain extent. I think they have to replace Khalil Mack because you can't let a transcendent generational talent walk away and not replace him, give the fan base somebody to be excited about.
So a guy like Josh Allen, the kid from Kentucky.
See what got lost in the whole Kansas City-San Francisco trade is that now we thought that San Francisco was going to go get that pass rusher. So that means now the Jets and the Raiders are primed for Nick Bosa, Josh Allen. See, one person, the Nick Bosa, sweepstakes is open. And we're going to see, because if anybody moves up and trades with San Francisco, it's for a quarterback. So they can get the best pass rusher in the game to replace Khalil Mack. That's what you sell to Vegas as well.
Right. Also, the optics. What you're saying, man, they have to place Khalil Mack. the way the trade went with them giving up a 3 and a 5, because we knew the type of person and wide receiver that Amari Cooper had the potential to be. They got that one because they have AB. So they don't look foolish as far as the wide receiver. I do agree with you, man, wholeheartedly. They have to get a dynamic pass rusher so that people stop talking about Khalil Mack. And in this year's draft, I'm going to tell you, there's 2 quarterbacks that I like in the first round, not in love with the rest of them. But if you told me in this year's draft, you can only draft 2 offensive players, and that's the quarterback, even though there's guys with grades, offensive grade. I could draft 30 defensive players. Man, it's about 30 to 35 blue-chip defensive players. So it is very important that they get a star or 1 or 2 in that first round on the defensive side of the ball, because that will replace the Khalil Mack like they did with AB and Amari.
The justification for Gruden's all the moves Gruden has made pre-Antonio Brown, which at the time a lot of them seemed curious, aside from the veteran, bringing in Jordy Nelson, guys like that, it was he wasn't sold on his quarterback, and he realized we're going to need to accumulate draft capital to get the next quarterback. If they do what you're saying, which is not draft Kyler Haskins here, that they get the pass rusher, which I think is a really interesting point, that Nick Bosa, who most people think is the best player in the draft, could be available in the 3-4 range. Well, now the value proposition there is enormous. If what you're saying is true, the other thing the Raiders, we say they have 3 firsts in this year's draft and 2 in the following year. When you've got the top pick and then you've got the 2 picks in the 20s, if you're focused on a quarterback for 2020, that's the type of spot where you can flip one of those for a 2020 first-round pick.
Yes.
So you're still coming away with 2 first-round picks this year, and then you have 3 in the year you're talking about the quarterback.
Positions of need for them, right? They have to get cornerbacks. They don't have any cornerbacks. So you think about Greedy, you think about all the corners that's going to fall down there. You got to get your corner as well. So it's about getting things to build around your quarterback when he shows up. The hardest positions and the most valuable positions in football: left tackle, cornerback, pass rusher, because you got to be able to protect the quarterback and you got to be able to defend the quarterback.
They just paid for their left tackle in Trent Brown.
Exactly.
You think they can draft the pass rusher in the top 5?
Yep.
And then a corner maybe with one of the picks in the 20s.
Absolutely. Then next year, move up before Herbert, Fromm, or Tua. Those are going to be the guys available.
I believe it's really important for John Gruden, if he can show and have success with Antonio after leaving Pittsburgh the way he left the great franchise, they open themselves up as a team like they used to do Oakland Raiders. When they go to Vegas, they can get guys to start coming to Vegas for less money.
Yeah.
No state taxes. Man, I would like, you know.
They can get Nick to go there.
Well, I'm just telling you, players will go to Vegas. So that's important how that relationship works out.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.